Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Today we're going to do a first drive video of my newly acquired 996 Carrera. So let's just walk around this. Hopefully you can hear me. It's the storm and it's raining. So this is a 996 Gen 1 Aero project car that I'm going to be doing lots of work on. Design Sport Classic wheels. It's pouring with rain. So let's get in here. It's filthy dirty in the car. Oh. Okay. Let's just adjust the camera angle slightly. So, we've got the Mod 7 steering wheel, the front lip's fallen off. We've got these Recaro Sportster seats, which are killing me. And we've got loads of things we've got to do on this car. It's completely cold. It's got this short shifter on here. Let's turn that stezzer off. What? No, it's useless, this thing. How do you turn it off? Just press random buttons. Off. No. Off. You press the off button, it doesn't turn off. Maybe you've got to hold it down. There we go. Great stereo that is. Right. So it's got that slow starter motor burr. I'm just going to do a little camera angle adjust as well, so you should have a good view there. So that's a cold start on the car, and we'll drive it now, and I'll just let it warm up, and then I'll come back when I'm on location and ready to do the POV. Okay guys, so we're on the open road. We'll start with a little pull in second gear, okay? My foot's flat to the floor there. And that is the speed limit. I find the car's got a good amount of power. About right, actually. If you compare that to my M4, the M4 has so much power and torque, you don't really get to enjoy it, as I've talked about quite a few times. I think this has just about the right amount of power. But the most important thing is it comes alive when you really rev it up in the high rev range, so it's a bit more engaging to drive. But hopefully down here you can see the short shifter. Once you're up and running and driving, the short shifter is lovely. It's a bit on the heavy side for when you're driving around town, but when you get going it's really nice and beefy. For the time being I'm going to keep this short shifter. Really love this steering wheel. Love the way the car feels on the road on these Olim suspension. It's really flat, so there's not so much body roll. And the turning is really immediate, really quite precise for an old car. And that's one thing you notice on all Porsches. They sort of handle like they're on rails, and the chassis doesn't move around as much as other cars, which is not just down to suspension, it's just down to the fact that it's a sports car. And it's built to be a sports car. I've got to try and stay within the speed limits here, which is a bit of a shame. Now, these Recaro Sportster seats over here, or pole position, sorry, I think they are. Don't get me wrong, you know, they hold you in place, they do their job, but they're a racing seat. And getting in and out of the car, I mean, I'm exhausted after I've got into this car. And you get in the car and then you forget something, you've got to go back into the house, you literally curse because it's so difficult to get in and out of them. And that, you know, if I was tracking the car and designing this to be a track car, then I could live with that. But getting in and out of the car every day because I want to drive the car, that is unlivable for me with my size. So I'm going to probably get myself, I prefer the idea of getting the Recaro CS's to the stock Sportster seats, because the Porsche sports seats, because I can get new Recaro CS's, and I think that new will be better. I'm also going to get a new steering wheel. I'm probably going to get the Momo Mod 7 Black Edition. Right, we've got a nice turn down here that we want to go down. So I'm going to leave the traction control on because of the conditions. Right, we'll give it a nice squirt here. Foot is flat to the floor. That is lovely. And there we're at the speed limit. Just love the way it comes to life in the high rev range. You'd obviously want to keep going in different conditions, but yeah, one of the nicest. Whenever you get a new car, you really sort of like notice the good things about it. But this is probably one of the nicest cars to drive that I've ever driven. Really is like everything I want from a road car, especially with the steering. The way the pedals feel as well, the pedals are set out so nicely. The knees and legs feel comfortable and the pedals feel just perfect. The weighting of the pedals as well. The brake pedal feels really good. So let's just drop right down. We'll just turn that on and we'll go from standing. This is, yeah. Ooh, so we're skidding. So even I mean, I did that on purpose, but not on purpose. Be careful. There's so much rear traction. You know, if I was doing that in my E36, it would carry on spinning and I'd go nowhere. As this will hook up, you know, and if you don't go mad, it will hook up all the time. And that is just the consequence of having massively wide tyres and the engine at the back. You get so much traction in these cars. They don't feel like they're going to break traction under acceleration, you know, in normal conditions, not when you're doing what I just did. So we'll keep the traction control on. What are these brakes like? Let's just do a heavy brake test. There's got to be some pull because the road's not even flat. Let's just slam the brakes on. So the anti-lock's kicking in. Actually, it brakes really straight. That was good. The steering, as you can see, is a little bit off centre. I need to get that corrected. But the brake's very good in these horrible greasy conditions. Yeah. Bags rolling around. Oh. Yeah, these types of road conditions, guys, are really, really dangerous. As you know, you do not want to be hurtling along here. You get deers and stuff, wildlife coming out into the road. And if you're slamming on the brakes and speeding, and you're on those wet leaves, you're going to be into one of those trees very rapidly. So I'm just taking it easy. Beautiful road, isn't it? Let me sit down a little bit more in the car, so hopefully you can get a better view. The exhaust note on this car, incredible when you've got the window wound down. You really need to rev it. I'm just going to put the window down here. It's got such a nice exhaust note, look. Really roars. But if you stay off the gas, it's pretty civilised. It's not droney. It's a good exhaust. I think it's a Dansk, not a Dantec, as I might have said in that video. Dansk, I think, or Design Tech or something. I think it's Design Tech 911 or so. I can't remember. But whatever it is, it sounds really nice. So I think I was going through the paperwork on this car last night, and about 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of money was spent on this car, getting all of the underneath sorted out and all the suspension renewed and just getting the car as it should. Then I think, so someone spent a lot of money getting this all sorted, and then they got rid of it. And I think everything was done. And then the next owner, the guy I bought it off, had it for a couple of years, and it probably didn't need anything doing to it. And it's still showing signs that it really doesn't need much doing to it. Beyond getting this tracking sorted and all the cosmetic things, it feels so unbelievably sorted. So in some ways I've been really lucky with this, because when you buy a 996, the chances are, you don't have to worry too much about this, but I'm just going to go through it slowly. It's not about water ingress. I just don't want to, I don't know what's under there. Could be a dead rat or a pothole or something. Yeah, so I got really lucky, I think, with this car. It feels really sorted. We'll just drop it into second and plant it. Whoa. That's traction control. And that's the speed limit. Stop, yeah. So you see what I mean about why, like, cars with even more power are a bit pointless for the road. Because how quickly does that hit the speed limit? Well, yes, John, but I keep going beyond the speed limits. Well, you know, even if you did, say I ignored the speed limits on this in this terrible condition. When you get, I got up to 60 in seconds. You know, I'd be up at 90 in seconds, and then at 90 down here, it would be so dangerous. You know, so really on cars, that's why I love my 328i BMW E36 Sport so much. Is that I just like redline it everywhere because it's only got 200 brake horsepower. You know, it's not a fast car as such. You can just rag it around. You need a bit of that, I think, in a road car. Like the way it's going today, every iteration of car that comes out is trying to be faster than the last one, and they're just getting faster and faster and faster. So sub 4 second 0 to 60 times, very common now. Lots of, I've said it before, I'm not discriminating against young people, but lots of young guys are getting incredibly fast cars on PCP deals. And if I was 17 and I had like a 400 brake horsepower car, or even a 300 brake horsepower car, I probably wouldn't be here today, because I used to drive like an idiot. Because you just do, don't you? And that is why perhaps the insurance premiums are up. You know, if you're a young guy, 16, 17, 18, if you want to get a 300, 400 brake horsepower car, you're going to pay like, you know what, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 pound insurance. This is a good one. So the traction control will kick in here. There it goes. Oh, but it bites still. Oh, it's so good. There's a horrible bump here somewhere. It just feels so good to drive. So planted, so solid, but so much more than a normal road car, a proper sports car. And I love this steering wheel, as I've mentioned. Just really love it. It makes the car feel, it doesn't compromise just driving on the road. It's not a pain, it's not a burden. It's just nice. You can really see the cockpit, and it makes it feel a bit more like an old-fashioned Spitfire or something. And I love this cockpit. And my view is ruined by this crap here, whatever this is. Like, whatever that is, it's crap. It's just really annoys me, that does, because it's so bad. So that's got to go back to OEM, and I'm really, let me know about these silver dials, because I just think it'll be so much better if it's all black. And this stereo, look at it, it's awful. That's got to go. So once this is all like OEM looking, and I've got a decent black edition steering wheel, and I've fixed this bloody thing, this is going to cost me like 300 or 400 quid just to fix that. Ridiculous. But I'm going to do it properly, not on the cheap. I've got a feeling I need to unbolt the airbag to get this thing off. So that'll be, it'll be Operation Dashboard first of all. Sort this dashboard out. Right, it's a nice bit of road. Oh, stay below the speed limit, John. Could be slowing up traffic behind me soon, like a van. But, yeah. So overall, guys, this was a very impromptu video. I didn't plan it very well, but what I want to get across is for £18,000 is what I paid for this. I don't think you'll get a rawer, more sporty car that looks so good on the outside. And the Aero Kit cars, Gen 1 Aero Kits, they look amazing. It doesn't look like an £18,000 car. You know, I put this in a car park somewhere, and most of the normal, you know, everyday kind of daily driver cars are more expensive than this thing. But this stands out. It's like, it looks like a sort of 30 or 40 or maybe even more if you didn't know what it was. You might think it was a GT3. It looks like an expensive car, and that's just a cool little bonus. But it's not really about how this car looks. It's not even about the fact it's a Porsche, because I don't know too much about them. Traction control on this is good. It does save you. That would carry on swinging around if it wasn't on, and it's horrible conditions, but it's quite abrupt. Yeah, I mean, this car's got everything. Even got cruise control. Look, I can press the button down there and then I think I set cruise control by pressing forward. There we go. So it's cruise control is on, I think. Is it on? Now it's on. Now if I want to accelerate, I just keep pressing forward. So it's accelerating. If I want to decelerate, I press down. No. Yeah, I press down. Yeah, there you go. It's a bit of a weird system, that. It's not intuitive, because there is no up. There's only down and backwards and forwards. Backwards resets. So anyway, let's turn that off. Right, this is a 30 zone, isn't it? So I need to go very slow here. Yeah. Yeah, I've just really liked the car. So my plans, I think, for this are to go Recaro CS's, brand new with all fresh leather on them, back to all leather dash, black here, black edition Mod 7 steering wheel, OEM stereo. I want to get a Black Forest Industries gear knob. Because this has been Alcantara'd. It's such a shame, like, I don't want to keep going on about this, but someone spent a lot of money and had good vision for this car, but just went cheap on this Alcantara, and that ruins it. You can't get away with going cheap on the inside of this car. You cannot. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. Why would you want to introduce all these textures? And they're not even good. As soon as you touch it, you know that's not good. Yeah, that's really bugging me, that is. I'm a good whinger. But I wanted a project, and this car is quite an unusual project, because normally it's like saving them mechanically and paintwork wise, but I think someone's done all that, and just a few bad choices have been made back in its past. Oh, here we go. So I love getting used to the Porsche dynamics with pulling down to get the slow wiper blade and adjusting here. That works really well, actually. So that's the slowest, yeah. So we'll just do another pull. We'll try not to do a good one. Oh, it kicks in quite easily, that does. Oh, it's lovely. And there's the speed limit. Yeah, it's lovely. Really enjoyable car. You need a bit of, what do you need in a car that you want to enjoy on the road? You need it to look good, and I think this car looks good. You need it to be aggressive. You need it to be a bit more harder than a road car. Less body roll, harder suspension. You want a good feel on the steering wheel. You know, you don't want a vague steering wheel that's kind of, you move it, not much happens, and then it starts to bite and it's soft. You want a steering wheel to be quite precise. This does a lot of turning for not a lot of input, if you get what I'm saying. So you feel like you can really control the car easily when you're going around corners. You know, it's very precise, it's very racy. Yeah, you don't, whoa, what was that? Slid then. Don't know, something felt a bit weird there. But yeah, terrible conditions, so you've got to be careful. I mean, they nicknamed this car the Widowmaker. I don't know. For me, it feels very solid, but you've got to be careful, because this car wants you to drive fast. You know, it wants you to boot down this road at 500 miles an hour. When you're going fast, it sounds pretty obvious. But when you're cornering really at high speeds and all that sort of stuff, that's when it gets perhaps dangerous. Driven these before, and I've had these roundabouts and stuff at the limit at high speeds. I've said before, you get that little bouncing at the front, which is the first indicator that something bad is going to happen. Just that little shuffling feeling on the front axle or the front wheels. And whenever you get that, you need to be very careful, and you know, just be careful, don't go any more. So yeah, we're just coming into Chichester on the Northern Road through Lavant near Goodwood, and we're going to drop the speed down here to 30. Might as well keep recording, guys. Another really cool thing, that I want to get across is that I feel now, for the first time ever, let's just make sure we're at the appropriate speed. I feel now that I have all of the cars that I ever want, until next month. Seriously, I don't feel like I want any of the other Porsches. Don't get me wrong, they're all amazing, but I only really can have one more, and I don't really want a 991 or a 992. They're a little bit too big for me. Amazing though, beautiful cars, like fast, modern. And if I had loads and loads of money, I'm sure I'd get one, because I think they look stunning as well, and I'm sure they're brilliant. Same with the 997 really. They look stunning and they drive amazing, but it's really that price point. I was really drawn to this car because when you pay that 18,000 for something, you don't get too precious about it. And if I spent all my money and I got rid of the M4 and I got rid of the E36 and I didn't have this, and I put all my money into it or whatever, I could get pretty much, the dream car, a high-end 992, or whatever. I could get a really amazing car, but I'd be so precious about it. And I like to have a few different cars, and I like to not be too precious about them. And I think I'm doing quite well on that front. There's times in my life where I was so precious about cars I couldn't drive them. You just didn't want to get them dirty. You didn't want to kind of chip them up. You just cleaned them, and you felt you just wanted to keep it in the garage, and you'd take the Golf instead. I don't want to do that with any of my cars now. I just want to sort of drive them. So I haven't even cleaned this. Most of you guys would have cleaned it and polished it by now. I'm in no rush to do any of that. In fact, that's probably the last job I do after the project's complete. And it does need polishing. So I'm in a good sort of frame of mind with my cars. And even my M4, that car is my track car. And if you're making the decision you're going to use a car for circuit driving, well, it's all right, they're not coming to get me. If you make that decision that you're buying a car to drive around a circuit, you have to accept certain things. So for me, I have to accept that it's going to get little stone chips and all that sort of stuff. It's going to get a little bit beaten up, and in a few years' time, I'll get all that sorted, and that's just the way I'll do it. And or else you can end up ruining your own enjoyment, which is something I've talked about before. Whereas it's a bit of a cliche, but we're only on the planet for a few years, aren't we? And then we're gone. So while you're on the planet, I think the best thing you can do is really experience these cars. They are massive performance cars. Even this, really, they're performance cars, and primarily they're there to be driven. But yeah, they're so precious to us. I think detailing should bolt onto the side of that love for the car, but it shouldn't kind of overwhelm you. It shouldn't suffocate you. That's something that I'm constantly trying to balance in my head. I'm winning that balance at the moment. So maybe I've just overdosed on detailing so much. Most of you care more about detailing than I do, I think. It's probably fair to say. What else? Yeah, so I don't think I need any other car. What about a Cayman? I always like the 911s. The Caymans are really driving. If I wanted one car to do everything, because I could do the track, that could do the road, looks good, then it would probably be a Cayman, wouldn't it? They drive so good. But I just like the beefier rear end of the 911, and Porsche obviously made the 911s to be their flagship with more performance, so they've sort of dialed down the performance in the Cayman so they don't get better than these. But so I don't know, I'm just drawn to the 911 for some reason. But yeah, Cayman could be a good car. So that's really it, guys. I think the next step for me in terms of what do I want is I want to be able to store these cars on site at my gaff, where in a place where I can appreciate them. So sort of like doing something with my garage, or creating enough room to be able to store 3 performance cars is the next dream for me. So I hope this gives you a good idea of what it's like to drive in the 996. I haven't gone mad. I've tried as hard as I can to stick to the speed limits, but very difficult, very difficult. But yeah, camera off. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe to see the transformation of this car slowly occur. Take care.